And when Studebaker stopped making cars in the 60s, it brought our city to its knees. We lost almost a quarter of our population, thousands of jobs gone overnight. And even at the beginning of this decade, 50 years after Studebaker collapsed, people were talking kind of like we needed some version of Studebaker to come back. And what I had to do, part of why I ran for mayor at the tender age of 29, was that I believed in our city, but I also believed that the future had to be different. And so I talked about how nothing resembling that was ever coming back, but we were, and here's how. And we talked about having manufacturing still be an important part of our economy, but we faced the fact that it'll never employ as many people per dollar of output as it used to because of technology. We talked about creating jobs in new industries that didn't even exist when the last Studebaker rolled off the line. So one of the biggest buildings left over, and it's this big, stout, 800,000 square foot building. It's where we held my campaign announcement. It's probably there just because it was too big to blow up. When I was growing up, it was broken windows over the ballpark downtown. Just a giant facade of broken windows, 6 stories high. And now it's starting to fill back in as a tech center because we realized we could use the power substations around it to power these data centers. And they actually do well when there's cold weather, which is one asset that we have in northern Indiana, and really good fiber. So it's finding different ways to create jobs than what we were used to and making sure that we still cultivate a strong base of what we have. But to me, what's going on is a lot more than just the number of jobs. And you can tell this because in 2016, we had what the pundits called an economic anxiety election, but the economists said we were in full employment. So you know something's up, that the analysis isn't catching. And to me, part of what it is a relationship to the workforce. People my age and younger are likely to change careers more often than our parents' generation changed job titles. And yet we have a country that designed its systems around the assumption that most of us would have a lifelong relationship with a single employer. Some of us still will, and that's great. But we can't have that be the assumption anymore. Hey, some people in my age and younger change professions every few days, right? Because you're in the gig economy. And one minute you're driving for Uber, and another you're letting out your place on Airbnb, and maybe you got a part-time job too. That's why we need to make sure that our labor standards and our health benefits and our future vision of retirement are portable and prorated so that they can make workers in that gig economy better off. That we don't make it as easy to get around some of these labor expectations. That we hold the biggest actors to the highest standards when it comes to how they treat their workers and the communities where they operate. And maybe most of all, that we recognize that there need to be different sources of identity in addition to the workplace. For people like me, and I suspect a lot of people here, you get a lot of meaning from your job. That's a good thing. But that can't be the only place you get your meaning. Not if a majority of Americans are going to shift jobs and careers so many times. And so we need to lift up other sources of meaning, civic involvement, family involvement, faith. It could even be faith. Whatever it is that helps ground out your sense of purpose in an overworked society where I think we have a little too much hinging on our workplace. And I know that sounds maybe almost more spiritual than it is policy, but I actually think leadership from the White House can help establish a national culture and some specific policies like what I'm talking about with the portal benefits and maybe even a national service program too for young people graduating high school. That would help us establish that in a way that has us not only with a more stable economy, but one where even if you go through a lot of changes, that doesn't tear the heart out of your routine and your self-conception and your identity the way it happens now when you change jobs.
I have a question here.